Okay, this is part 2 of the same solving two-step equation notes. So we left off down here with this last example on this page. Okay, so again, our steps change slightly with this, and that's because of the type of fraction that you have that is connected to the x. So your first step is still the same. You are going to move that constant value first. So in this case, this was a positive 2. So I need to subtract 2 to the other side. When I do that, I carry down my negative 7/8 x to my next step. Do not lose that negative sign in front of the 7/8. Then negative 19 minus 2 is a negative 21. Also, make sure you're not losing your equal sign. That has to carry through all of your work and the whole way to your answer. Okay, so now that I have a negative 7/8 x equals a negative 21. Now, because of this fraction, okay, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So again, the reciprocal just means that I'm going to flip my initial fraction. So the reciprocal of negative 7/8 is a negative 8/7. Okay, so the sign does not change whenever I use the reciprocal. It's still the same sign. I'm just going to flip it. Okay, so I multiply the left side by a negative 8/7, and I multiply the right side by a negative 8/7. Okay, when I do that on my left side, my fractions completely cancel out, so I'm left with just my x equals now negative 21 times a negative 8/7. You can use your calculator for this. Again, be very careful, like we've been doing since the beginning of the year. Anytime you are typing a fraction into the calculator, you need to wrap that fraction in parentheses. So you're going to type in negative 21 times parenthesis negative 8 divided by 7 and close that parenthesis. If you do that correctly, you should get a positive 24 for your answer. Okay, so x equals 24. Now again, you should be checking all of your answers, so you should know if you got this right or not. Okay, so x equals 24. If I plug that back into my original equation, so I have 2 minus 7/8, but instead of x, I'm using my answer of 24, and I'm saying that all of that equals negative 19. Okay, so order of operations, you have to do this multiplication first. So I still have 2, but then 7/8 times 24 is a 21. So 2 minus 21 does actually equal negative 19. So this checks out as well. Okay, all right. 2 more examples. Okay, now again, if you notice, this example, okay, is different than that previous one. Okay, now that everything on my left side, so everything with my variable, it is all directly connected to it. There is no constant outside of this fraction. Okay, so normally I would deal with whatever constant was on the outside of this fraction first. In this case, I don't have anything outside of the fraction, which means, okay, I cannot undo that addition and subtraction first. I'm actually going to multiply first in these problems. Okay, because I need to get rid of this denominator. So you've got to be paying attention to what type of equation you are dealing with. The rules are going to change based on that. So because I don't have a constant to deal with first, I'm going to deal with my fraction first. So I need to get rid of this divided by 3. Okay, to undo divided by 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Okay, so on my left side, I multiply by 3. On my right side, I multiply by 3. Okay, when I do that here, those are going to cancel. My 3's are gone. I carry down my x minus 4 into my next step. Then on my right side, negative 10 times 3 is equal to a negative 30. Okay. Now we're down to our final step. I have x minus 4 equals negative 30. So if I'm going to undo this subtraction, I need to add 4 to both sides. So when I add 4, I'm left with just an x on my left side. Negative 30 plus 4 is a negative 26. Again, check your answer. Plug negative 26 back into your original equation for x. So negative 26 minus 4, all of that is being divided by 3. And I want to check to see if that all is going to give me a negative 10. And in this case, it does. Negative 26 minus 4 is a negative 30. divided by 3 is actually negative 10. So that checks out as well. Okay, one more example. Okay, again, everything here is inside of this fraction. I don't have any constants that I'm adding or subtracting to it. So I need to deal with the fraction first. So in this case, I'm going to, again, multiply by my denominator, which is a negative 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by that negative 2. That'll clear out my fraction. When I do that, again, my fraction's gone, so I'm left with 8 minus x equals a negative 14, because again, I needed to multiply on my right-hand side as well. Now I'm left with 8 minus x equals a negative 14. So I need to now move my constant away from the variable. This was a positive 8, so in order to get rid of it, I need to subtract 8. I do that on my right side as well. Now here I have to be careful. I have to drop down the negative x. Again, the sign in front of it always carries along with it. So my negative x drops down equals a negative 22. Now I have one more step here. Because I don't want to know what negative x is equal to, I have to get rid of that negative 1 that's technically in front of it. So I divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 22 divided by a negative 1 is a positive 22. Okay, your final check, again, plug it back in to your original equation. So I have 8 minus x. All of that is being divided by negative 2. And hopefully that will give me a positive 7. Okay, so when I check it, 8 minus 22 is a negative 14. Divided by a negative 2 is a positive 7. So because of that, I know that I got my answer correct. Okay, again, this was solving two-step equations. This was part 2 of the notes, and this is your concept number 5.